Hi guys, hope you're all well. This is a psychology call hosted by myself, Matt Archer and Tracey. We are three like-minded individuals on different paths to reach the same end goal. We are all at different aspects of our trading, however we're all working together to become funded traders, something that I've recently reached. So to start off this video, I'm going to go through my journey, then I'll let the guys go through their journey. Then I'm going to go through some of the stuff that I talk about in terms of psychology, some of the stuff that I focus on, some of the stuff that I practice, and then the guys will go through what they believe. So, starting off with my journey and how I've got to this point now, sitting in front of you as a funded trader. So of course, I'm a 19-year-old university student studying finance and investment. I'm in my second year of university, just about to finish. I'm also a community member at RWF Trading, a community mentor at RWF Trading, and I'm also a six-figure proprietary fund manager. And going through that milestone, I think I have a lot of reason to be able to sit here in front of you and deliver this video that I'm going to. So obviously I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you understand the principles we're talking about, and I hope you understand how some of the stuff we're going to go through is quite deep in terms of the beliefs and the stuff that we sort of understand. However, it's about that you need to make your own opinions off of these information, and so what I'm going to go through is how you can develop becoming more accurate in terms of what you believe and how you structure in terms of what do I believe, what do I not believe, or how do I know whether this is something that I should take in or should sort of ignore. So I say, this is my journey and hopefully it inspires you, and obviously I hope the other guys' stories inspire you as well, because they're guys I work with every single day and they're absolute quality guys. So in 2017 I was working in a minimum wage job earning £3.87 an hour at a trampoline park, and I was enjoying the job. I liked the job, but being 16, £3.87 an hour, I didn't really worry too much. I'm not someone who comes from like a good background or anything like that, like not a negative background or means, but I'm just from a working class family. So only £3.87 at that time, I didn't really need money. Of course, when you become a little bit older, you do start wanting to do more things with your friends, with girlfriends, boyfriends, relationships, partners, family, etc. But at that point I was fine, and then over time I've always been someone interested in business and investment and personal development and entrepreneurship, and I wanted to find a way to develop that. And how do I start that? And naturally, when you haven't got that guidance around you or anyone that you can look up to, you try and use your own devices. So I had someone I used to work with at that time who had left the trampoline park but come back to me with sort of this idea of these signals, so foreign exchange, currency, or trading. I want to get into trading, and I'd done work experience at a broker, and I wanted to get into it a little bit more. So I tried these signals out. It didn't go too well. I lost a couple £100, but you see the long-term vision. You notice that you can win trades, but you want to know what's the analysis, and this is where obviously you come to RWF or an education company and you start to understand there's a lot more to it. So 2018 I went to university after not sort of getting the great A-levels. Didn't go to my first choice university, but I don't regret anything in life. I think it's just lessons, which is something I'll go on to. So after that I went to university. I had to go into a house with some guys that I'd never met before, didn't know, went through clearing. So that's where you, for anyone who doesn't know, if you don't reach your grades that you want, you go into, say, like an adjustment system, and you can either go higher or lower. Unfortunately for me it was lower, because I was spending too much time trading at college. And then I had to get a student house, so I was living with 5 people. 2 of the guys I become sort of very good mates with, and the girls, well, I won't go too much about them. But I say, so then sort of after going to university, around sort of November time, I saw this advert. It was November, December. I saw this advert for RWF Trading, and this was an education provider. There's something very different about them, and I really enjoyed the way that they tried to speak about self-sufficiency rather than we'll make you loads of money in a week. So since joining RWF, my trading has gone to a new level, right? As a lot of you guys have seen, it's very different, especially the guys who've seen my whole journey, especially on Instagram. I've documented every single part, and to go from someone who was sort of putting these ideas up with all colours over the chart, all these different indicators, it's now great to sit here and have this simple analysis, or obviously to the eye simple, there's a lot behind it, but I think that's just that point of going through these experiences and going through the development and understanding these principles, because it's made me become a better person. So whether it's because obviously the funded traders process, the community, obviously Slack community has been a big part of it, or just simply myself. Because at the end of the day, the most important person in your life is yourself, unfortunately. Your partner's important, your family's important, your friend's important, but you're the only person who builds yourself and your character. So, of course, with the education, with the process, the strategies, it did help me a lot. The strategy helped me to sort of idea of this theory, application, how do I put it together? And obviously being able to picture this and being a visionary, you start to understand how your part-time hobby becomes potentially your full-time career. And at university I was lucky enough to sort of become obviously a community mentor and make some money through that, and obviously through my trading started to develop. And then of course I didn't need my part-time job anymore. At the time I was working at McDonald's, which of course nothing against McDonald's, but for me it wasn't sort of where I wanted to be. I was only there for like 2-3 months and I ended up leaving around Easter last year, so it was around a year exactly that I got funded. And I remember going to my manager, he was like, "Why are you leaving?" I was like, "Oh, I want to pursue this career in trading." And he just laughed, and I guess it's a thing to say, well, who's laughing now? But of course, some people you've got to shift their ideas, and unfortunately, we have to in life come across these people that don't believe in what we're going to do, but we've just proved them wrong at the end of the day. It's more fuel to the fire. So, of course, the important part here is being in a community with like-minded individuals. We're all on different paths to success, or even the same path, but we've all got that end goal. It's the most important thing. We've all got that same end goal, and in order to be the best trader, you have to be the best possible version of yourself. So what I mean by that is you have to be strong physically, mentally, spiritually, and have a structure in your life. For me, physically was the gym. I've become someone who wasn't very happy with my physical appearance. I wasn't happy with the way I felt, and I changed things. I started going gym a lot more. At the time I was going gym probably 2-3 times a week, and then before lockdown I started going 6 times a week. So that's that difference in the shift of my psychology, because it become part of my routine. I needed to go every single day, and because of sort of the mental health issues I was having, I found that through the gym it really helped me to sort of go to that next level and become a better person. And it is very positive in terms of obviously the hormones you release and things like that, the endorphins. So obviously after 14 months, 15 months free now, I now sit in front of you as a funded trader. I sit here in front of you as someone who's managing a 6-figure fund for a proprietary fund. So obviously that's a major milestone in my life, but you can see I'm not really like screaming about it, shouting about it. I'm happy with it. It's part of the process. It's all part of my journey. This is just a start. This is just the start of really taking trading to my full-time career. Of course, with trading, we learned that you can do a lot more than just simply trade. You can have businesses, which is something I aspire to do, property development, things like that. So as well as that, obviously, I am a community mentor in the community. I hope all you guys see that. I hope you guys appreciate the help and the videos and the advice and stuff I put in, because I've been in your journey. I've been a client who started their journey. I've been a member who's simply just starting like, oh, where do I start? All this information. And unfortunately for me, because of the help that I done with Ollie and some of the other guys that I work with, we built the education from sort of summertime. So for a couple of months I didn't have that clear structure. We had some simple education, but nothing compared to what we've got now. And that's just part of the process of the company. So that's sort of my journey, and I hope that sort of, for you guys who are obviously interested, I hope that inspires you. And something I always want to do is educate and inspire. So what I mean by that is educate people, but inspire them to go further. So
Hi everyone, my name's Aaron. I'm 19 years old and I'm a university student. So the lads at IYF have just kind of asked me to do a quick talk today about my kind of journey and some of the things I've learned to help with my psychology as a trader. So just a bit about me. I'm studying maths in university, and I always had a great interest in finance. So I finished my leaving cert here in Ireland, or A levels in England, last June. So I spent the whole summer kind of researching how can I learn to trade. In about August, then I came across IYF. Who had more of an emphasis on education, which was huge for me. Signed up with them. So I've been trading about 8 or 9 months now. And I absolutely love it. Like, it's probably my favorite pastime. I spend way too much time on it, which I do need to fix. But yeah, I really, really enjoy it.
Yo people, how we doing? On this little video clip, I've been asked to talk about my journey as a trader, and my journey into coming to IYF. So for those that are interested, or those that aren't, I'll keep it very short and simple for all of you. So basically, I had a gap year from university. I'm currently in my first year now, and in that gap year I didn't really know what I wanted to do, hence why I took it. And then I was working as a shop assistant, as a till assistant, and it is as glamorous as it sounds. It was extremely boring. However, it brought in money and it allowed me to do things throughout the gap year, like travel and eventually take up trading. So I knew that I wanted something else to do rather than just having a part-time job and then going out in my spare time and just not doing anything beneficial with it. So that's when I really came across the whole industry of trading, and it was across Instagram, which I'm sure most of you who are watching this video and most of you who got into trading have done yourselves. And I unfortunately started with a signal provider, but I was very lucky early doors to do my own research, as I do with most things. And it's very important whenever you get into something, regardless what it may be, to do your own research and make your own mind up. I knew very early on about risk management. So when I was following these signals, I didn't lose too much money. And I quickly found out that it wasn't the way I wanted to be. I didn't want to rely on someone else. I wanted to be self-sufficient, wanted to be able to make my own money. So that's when I approached the concept of going away from that and into more education. And now this was very hard because at the time it was the start of last year, so the start of 2019, and there weren't many education firms about, or the ones that I knew of. And so I started with a company, I won't name that company, and they did teach me a lot of basics about trading. However, the way they did trade was very day trading, and something you learn very early on is to find a trading style that suits your personality and suits your lifestyle. So with that, again, it taught me valuable lessons. I didn't lose too much money, which I know a lot of people are unfortunate to fall victim of. They lose a lot of money when they have ill education or get scammed from signal providers. And then that's when the topic of IYF came about. So IYF, I was made aware of them about June 2019 when head trader Ollie, who I'm sure you've all seen before if you're watching this video, and if you don't know, he is the head trader here. And we knew each other from previous dealings, from previous endeavours in trading through the education company that I used to learn through, and basically said, are you interested in coming over? This is something else that I'm involved in now. And Ollie's style was really something that always resonated with me. It was clear what he was doing and it made sense, his analysis to me. And I knew at that point I'd found a style that suited my personality. So by that point, I'd already gone through signals, a short-term scalping strategy, which could be kind of classed the same as signals, and then the more long-term swing trading, intraday trading that we do teach here. So throughout that June, July 2018 signalled my start the journey here at IYF. And then after a few months in, I got asked to become a team member. So that was obviously helping put the word of the company out, helping members within the community. And at that point, we were still relatively small. So in terms of interacting with community members and getting people to talk and put in their own trade ideas, it didn't really happen that much. However, towards the back end of 2019, we did start to grow and get a few more people in the community, and that's where my job now is transformed into a community mentor. So my job now within the community is to make sure everybody, whether it be new members or existing members, to make sure they're getting on well with the trading, interacting, feedback on trade analysis, any problems they do have, show them the education centre, all those kind of things, and also offer mentoring. And throughout the journey of my trading so far, I've noticed, and all traders do, that when you improve your trading, you also improve your personal development. So because trading is much more than just chart work, analysis, etc., a major part of it is psychology, which the whole topic of this call is around. And me as a person, I've developed 10 times on the person that I was last year, and it's all down to the trading journey putting me on that path.
Let's talk psychology, let's talk structure, routine, personal development. Being a visionary, you're a product of your environment, your thinking, business. And there's a few, so I'm going to basically pick through quotes in. I love using Twitter. I've always found it useful as a news for football, sports. I'm a big Arsenal fan, so always the news on there. But I've also found that it's very good for motivation, and something I want to start doing is being a motivator on my page, because Instagram, you can put stuff on there, but you can't always see how people react to it, especially stories. So with Twitter, you can. So that's obviously, if you don't follow me already, my @ is @con with 2 N's, Raj with 2 E's and then 7. And I'll put a link in the description or underneath, and you can check this out. So firstly, practice what you preach. So throughout my journey, I've always been someone to obviously talk about RAF. I've always been someone proud to be a part of the company, and of course now I'm a sort of a more senior member in the company as I'm a community director. But the most important part there is I've always practiced what I've preached in terms of you have to learn, you have to become self-sufficient. That's always been my big thing. Self-sufficiency is so key to me, and in order to get to where you want to be, you have to practice them things. You don't just put signals on your story, or you don't just put profits on there. You have to show the before and after, which is why I always put analysis, the entry. I always like to put an entry on there, especially on sniper entries. And then the profit doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you're making enough money from trading, you're not going to put it on your Instagram. You're not going to put it in places, because otherwise you're going to get the tax man come knocking. You're going to put it sideways. You're going to have a company or some sort of way to deal with them taxes efficiently with a accountant or some sort of professional. And you're not going to blast, I've made £1,000 this week. Why would you do that? The tax man's just going to come knocking at your door like, oh, we know exactly how much you've made, you can't twist anything now. So practice what you preach is really important to me. So no matter what in life, if you're telling or advising someone, make sure you believe in what you're saying. If you're selling something, believe in that product. If you're selling a service, believe in that service. For me, I always believed in RF, and that's why I was happy to promote it to my friends and family and help people to discover the journey. It wasn't about commission, it wasn't about signing people up in that sense. It was just about how can I help people and take them through the journey I've gone to, because commission doesn't matter, commission runs out. If you're not doing things right, you're not going to get commission. For me, I focused on my trading, and if people wanted to join, then that was up to them. So the next thing we'll talk about is very specific to now in this environment we're in and the situation at the moment is structure and routine is so important to keep yourself physically and mentally active. Without these, it's likely you'll fall into bad habits, being efficient, struggle mentally. So no matter what, you need to look at the positives. Even in this situation, people will appreciate what they have around them, whether it be physically, such as the gym, which I know for me is a big one, mentally, such as work or education. Even I miss uni partly for the social parts. Socially, with relationships, friends and family. We need to appreciate the little things in life. We need to appreciate the things that we take for granted every day, because you never quite know when something or someone will be taken away, and you need to appreciate what you have and make sure to continue working towards what you don't have yet. And I think that's the important part, because especially in these current times, it's more important than ever to appreciate what you have and to add structure where you can in life, because without structure you just lose yourself and lose what you're doing. And I feel like with structure, with me, my routine, because I've balanced so many things with job, full-time job, full-time trading, full-time uni, you have to balance these things because you need to social life as well. You need to learn how to switch off, which sometimes I don't really tend to do. The next part that I want to go through is something that is called the 90% rule in trading. So of course, everything I'm going to talk about, this is all stuff I've learned through my journey as a trader, and I truly believe you're a product of your environment. But the point of that is that there's this 90% rule, and what this means is that if you break out of the trend, you normally reach the start of that previous trend. However, there's nothing to say you're not going to go further than that trend. And the way I see it is you shouldn't limit yourself in life. This is the way I apply it to life. You shouldn't limit yourself. You should be someone who, when you break that trend, you should see anything as possible. Break out the mold that's around you. So temporary struggle is equal to a long-term lesson. And I'm someone who believes that you shouldn't have regrets in life, just lessons. Yes, there's some things in life that I probably maybe would have regretted a couple of years ago, but now I think everything does happen for a reason, and I see the positives behind it. Whether that is relationships, work, family, friends. There's some things in life that we can't necessarily explain, but there is normally a reason behind that. Even things like negative energy and illness and things like that. There is some spiritual things which I'm not going to go into because it's very touchy, but take your own opinions of it. So be willing to live a few years how most people won't, so that you can live the rest of your life how people can't. And this goes back to the idea of this being a product of your environment. And what I mean by being a product of your environment is your accent, your mannerisms, your beliefs, your mentality, your social class. You're constantly adapting as your environment is changing. So depending on who you surround yourself with, which is the next point I'll go on to, you need to surround yourself with the environment that you want. So positive people, successful people, people who inspire you every day, people who aspire to be like you. And surround yourself with the right people and the right energy. And energy is a very important thing in life, and I'll go on to an important part about energy. So place yourself in the correct environment, whether that be work-related, skill-related, personally, physically, mentally, spiritually. But overall, break out the mold that society has put you in. Whether it's your town, try and be the richest person in your town. Try to be the most successful person in your town. Be someone that everyone knows about for the right reasons. So the next point I said about obviously your environment, your right people around you, and this is something that's very hard for a lot of people because we grow up with people we've known for years. My best friends, the majority of them I've known since say year 7, so since I was like 12 or 13. And I truly believe this, that you are on average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, so choose wisely. Some people won't stand by your grind or your passion even those closest to you, don't let their negativity affect your focus. Be smart and surround yourself with like-minded people, or drag up those who are closest with you. So what I mean by this is, some people won't stand by you when you're trying new things. They won't try and understand what you're doing. They'll just see this big aim and big asks, but you know that you can get there, right? You know that there's something that you're aiming towards, and you know that you're going to get there. And I'm going to talk about some things that I believe will help you get there. So the important part there is to be careful about the company you keep, friends and family, because even my friends and my family, when I first started trading or first started doing my mentoring and stuff, they didn't believe I could do it. They was like, how can you do it when you've only been trading for a few months? But when I've been in the market for say 2-3 years now, since sort of I was 17, and I still was learning, I just didn't trade. And of course, when I went to IWF, I started learning more than I've ever known before, and it opened my eyes. But I knew the whole time that there was this process I was going to go through, no matter whether it was uni, no matter where I was working. I wanted to do this specifically. So I think you just need to, if people don't understand, make them understand, explain to them. Sometimes people just will never understand, they won't, but you've got to prove them wrong. And in life, it's okay to be wrong as well. If maybe you won't reach where you want to get to, but set them goals higher. I always say you should set your dreams as your goals, and your goals as reality. Why aim little? Why aim down here? At the end of the day, most people are being like the average. They're aiming for here. Always aim up here, because at the end of the day, even if you don't reach that final or that biggest dream or that biggest goal, you're going to at least smash the average out of the way. Whether that's time based, whether that's monetary based, anything like that. So the next thing going off of that point is going off in terms of these relationships and why these are so important. So few are loyal to you. Many are loyal to the perks you can offer them. Remove the perks and see if the phone still rings, and cut off what don't grow. So cut off what don't grow was Meek Mill, and it just made me laugh, because that's so simple but it's true. Sometimes we have to be a bit cutthroat. If someone's not backing you or not believing what you're doing, why do you need them? If they're not adding anything positive to you, if they're just negative energies, constantly in your ear, moaning, complaining about their life, about anything in their life, then it's important to just remember that you changed your life. You changed where you was. I was in a bad place start of last year, start of 2019, mentally, physically, spiritually. I didn't even know about spiritual. I didn't really believe in it. And now I sit in front of you as a funded trader, as someone who's a director of a company. I started my own limited company to go with my trading and aspiration in the future. And I'm now thinking the long-term vision. I'm not the average 19-year-old student. I'm not the average university student. And I'm proud to say that, because it's true, I'm not. And I've got the things to back it up. I've got the accolades. So in the short term, they will doubt you, they will question you, or even disagree with you. Long term, they will thank you. Because in the short term, you're going to shift their momentum. You're going to shift their mindset. You're going to make them realise that health, mentality, spiritualism, physically, like gym, these things will change them. They will change their lives in some ways. And they will thank you in the long term, because in the short term they didn't believe you, they doubted you. But once you've shown them, and unfortunately for me, a lot of my friends have only just started trading, because they've now seen that I've got funded, but they've always been there as part of the journey, no doubt. But at the start they didn't really believe in it as much, and then they was getting better in terms of believing and understanding it once I showed them. And sometimes people do just need to take a little nudge, and you've got to show them a little bit. But as long as they stick by you and don't just laugh at you or joke about you, then it's not a problem in that sense. But the people who constructively challenges your thoughts and hold you accountable for your actions, they love you more than the person who agrees with your every word and allows you to make excuses to feel better and justify your poor decision making. A lot of people believe in a relationship you should just, I know it's easier sometimes just to agree with your partner, but a lot of people believe that a happy relationship is people who don't argue, they don't bicker, they don't challenge each other. But that's how you improve, and that's how you motivate one another, and that's how you become better in terms of a couple, because you start to challenge your thoughts and become better and grow together. And that's something that's so important in life. You need to grow with your partner, your friends, your family. And at the end of the day, who wants a hype man, right? Like, who wants a hype man? I don't want someone to tell me when I'm wrong. I want valuable discussions with educational arguments. Someone who's got facts to back up their statements. They need to continue to develop. You need to continue to develop everyone you care about. You can give people all the tools in the world. However, they're the only ones who can use them efficiently and become self-sufficient. Like I said at the start, always been passionate about self-sufficiency. So unfortunately, some of those closest may have negative energy, which will have an impact. Have people who will help you reach your goals, not people who are going to distract you or don't believe you'll get there. So like I said, have people going to help you get there, have that positive energy, people going to push you forward, have that catapult effect. You might go backwards in the short run, but in the long run, you're just going to catapult and go miles past where you was at the start. And that's with the help of the people you have around you and the company you keep. Whether it is a community, say like the trading community we have, or in the IWF community, it helps you every day just to go forward and excel. And for me, one of the things I believe in, that if my friend has a business or a service, I'm paying full price and supporting their grind, because at the end of the day, in the short run, you're going to struggle as a business, right? You need to get out there, unless you're fortunate to have some backing or social media influencers. But if you're paying social media influencers, they don't believe in what you're doing. We see all these Instagram ads in and see everything. They're just paid promotions. They all say the exact same stuff, and it makes me laugh. But like, you have to be selfish in the short run to be selfish in the long run. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, in the short run, you have to be selfish. You have to understand that sometimes you've got to be selfish, take your time away from other people, whether it's PlayStation, Xbox, going out to cinema, going to the shopping centre, spending money that you don't need to be spending. Of course we need that social life, but in the short run you want to live a life that not many people do, otherwise you're not going to get to become the people you aspire to be like, because they're the ones who took them, in the short run they took them sacrifices. So in that sense, in the long run, you're going to be selfless, because you're going to be able to do more. You're going to be able to do more for your friends and family. You're going to be able to do these great things and be something that people aspire to do. So I truly believe in that you have to be selfish in the short run to be selfless in the long run. And if that doesn't quite make sense now, hopefully it will do soon. So too many people focus on the past. That's what stops them from getting where they want to be. Live and plan for the future, and don't stop working until your dreams and goals become reality. You want to send positive affirmations every day. So now, what are affirmations? This comes back to law of attraction. And to put it simply, law of attraction is attracting positive or negative experiences by sending out these positive or negative affirmations. Whether this be success, monetary, family, friends, personal development, business, investment, health, etc. So affirmations are positive statements that can help you to challenge and overcome self-sabotaging and negative thoughts. When you repeat them often and believe in them, you can start to make positive changes. Self-affirmations may help to mitigate the effects of stress and negativity. The universe rewards those with positive energy, with these positive affirmations, with these burning desires, absolute belief, consistent hard work and resiliency. Energy is the currency of the universe. Don't take it for granted. You can attract what your deepest subconscious thoughts suggest, not what your conscious thoughts want. And the trouble there is that if you're telling people and shouting out to people that you're going to be this, but inside that you don't believe that and you're negative inside, you're going to get the negative affirmations, because that's what you truly believe. If you write down something every single day, I'm going to be a funded trader, I'm going to earn this amount of money this year, I'm going to buy my first property at this age, I'm going to buy my first this and that. The point there is you're going to start to believe it either way, because if you're writing it down every day, it's not, you've got a purpose there, you've got a reason to do it, because you're telling yourself every single day. And that's the important part. At the end of the day, whether it's monetary, whether it's friends and family, whether it's business, you've got something to aim towards. It's so important in life to have goals, otherwise you're just going to stay down here. If you set goals, you're always going to be aspiring to be better, and better than those around you, and like we said, the environment you keep. So going off of that point of attracting what your deep subconscious wants, actions speak louder than words. Do you truly believe what you're saying? What you say you will achieve is very different to what you believe you will achieve. Self-belief is the difference there. If you don't truly believe it, you're not going to get there. In order to become like the 1%, the people you hopefully will aspire to be like, you need to think like the 1%. You need to act like the 1%. And most importantly, you need to learn from the 1%. One way that I found is important to learn is reading. When I was younger, of course, you're forced to read books in life. Normally when you're younger, you kind of rebel. For me, I've always been like that. I've never really truly read. I've always preferred, say, autobiographies and biographies to be on a movie, on a film. But when you read it, I don't know, there's just some different sense. So what I like to do in terms of my routine again, so I wake up at sort of 6:30 in the morning. I read a chapter or two, depending on the book size, and then before I go to sleep, I will read a chapter of a different book. So in the morning it's more self-development or personal development. In the evening it's more autobiography based, but someone inspirational where I aspire to be like. Whether that is a sports person, an athlete, if you're an athlete especially, of course, but even things like, for me, Thierry Henry, one of the great strikers of all time. For me, he's a massive inspiration in terms of not so much his footballing ability, but his attitude towards life, because it's still something to learn from. I was watching The Last Dance on Netflix, a basketball series about the Chicago Bulls, between sort of the late 80s to sort of 2000s or before that. And of course, Michael Jordan come through, and the way he speaks, and it's just really, really inspirational, and it's something to be like, because he wasn't cocky, he wasn't arrogant, he wasn't on the court, but off the court and speaking to public and media until sort of they started to tarnish him. He was very, very well spoken and truly believed in himself and what he could do, and he was a real leader in terms of the fact that he led his team. It's not about ability, it's about how you motivate your teammates, it's about or the people around you, it's about how you change their thoughts and shift the momentum, it's how overall you work with others rather than being for yourself. And as a trader, it's very easy to become lonely, but a lot of people said self-isolation is nothing new to the successful, which made me laugh because I can relate to it 100%. Last year in uni, I wasn't going out every week. I was learning and spending my time effectively, and now it's paying off. And now I can go out when I want, in that sense. And I remember Tom Hardy said something about when you're alone and when you keep yourself sort of contained, it becomes very easy to actually start to enjoy that, and you start to actually dislike going out and seeing other people, because otherwise because what you start to see is you start to see all the bullshit. Paraphrasing it, I'm saying bullshit, but you start to get rid of that and you start to just listen to what you think, and you stop listening to the world around you, the environment, and you just blur out everything else. You just ignore. You just stick to what you believe in and what you're learning and the things that have the facts behind them. So to go with the reading, the first book that I've got back into reading, or the one that I finished, is Tyson Fury, Behind the Mask. And this is a really, really good book. It's his autobiography, and it's very good on mental health. And as someone who suffered from mental health last year, I got it at Christmas, and I never read it, funnily enough. But I've read it now, I finished it, and I'll be making sure to read a lot more and a lot quicker than I read that one. But it's very good on mental health, and it shows how even the heavyweight champion of the world has his downs, has his demons, and he still believes he's not good enough. But when he tells himself something every single day of his life, this will spur him to overcome his demons, overcome exactly what he sets out to be. He told himself every day he would be heavyweight champion of the world. He told himself that he could be. Even when he was born premature, and his dad said he'll be a fighter, and of course he's named after Mike Tyson, one of the best fighters of all time. And this is the thing, that when you truly believe it, you'll get there. Same with McGregor, same with a lot of footballers, and this is the thing, that it's the mentality they have at the start. Although what you might see now, you didn't see where they started off at. A lot of footballers, for example, they didn't start playing until they were 16, 17 at earliest, for professional days, and where you would see them. Boxers, normally quite later in their career. Another book I've been currently reading is called... So the book that I'm currently reading is this one here. It's Napoleon Hill's Success Habits, Proven Principles for Greater Wealth, Health and Happiness. It's a really good book. Not promoting it in any sense, I don't get that. But it's a really good book, and I've learned some key lessons. And what I'm doing is, every time I read a book, I try and make a note of the chapter, of what, like a summary of that. So the first one was Definitive of Purpose, Positive Affirmations to Build a Successful but Structured Plan. And it's the WWWH formula. So it's the what, the where, the why, the when, and the how. So whenever you say something, you need to say it, especially with affirmations, you need to say it with a purpose. You need to say it with a plan. So what are you going to do? Why are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? And so what are you going to do? When are you going to do it? Why are you going to do it? Where are you going to do it? And how are you going to do it? If you put them all together, you'll get there. Whereas if you just say, I'm going to be a millionaire, you could become a millionaire, but you might lose it. Or I'm going to get a check for, the example of the book was, I'm going to get a check for, say, $100,000. He got that check, he was be given a check for that, but he didn't actually have it because he didn't put these things in. He actually got offered it, and then it got taken away because he got sort of scammed in a sense by his boss. Then chapter 2, the importance of mastering the definite purpose. So the 9 basic motives for success. So there's different things in there that we learned, so like love, fear, different things like this. That of course love it's a very strong emotion. It's one of the sort of biggest emotions you can have, and it's something that completely changes your life in a sense. But it can also get in the way of your success. It can also motivate you for success. So that was the main one there. Chapter 3 was accurate thinking. So accurate thinkers permit no one to think for them. You have to become responsible for your thinking, opinions, and ideas. Separate important and unimportant facts, and of course separate facts and fiction. So when someone speaks to you about something, they're trying to tell you this fact or trying to tell you a statement, ask them, how do you know? It's the most annoying question when you're explaining something and goes, how do you know? But if you truly know what you're talking about, and for me, the best way to learn is to teach. So if you can teach something, you must know it, or if not, you have to go away and find out the answers. And it makes them think about it and question it. And if they don't know the answer, they probably don't know what they're talking about a lot of the time. So reserve unto yourself the last word in your thinking. So always have the last say in what you think, in the way you think, your beliefs, your opinions. And in chapter 4 is how to be an accurate thinker. So theory and application. Research the author of the idea, thought, plan, or text. Find their motive. Was it a self-interested motive, or was it a need to impact accurate information on society? At that time, you can only work with what's in front of you, what they allow you to see or hear. It's important to remove emotion where possible in accurate thinking. Don't let your opinion or understanding be influenced by emotion, otherwise subconsciously you will manipulate the facts in line with your motive. So for example, if you think of any memory you've got, a lot of the time you will turn that memory in your fact. How many times have you said a story and one of your friends or family have gone, that's not how it happened, and you're like, well, that's how I remember it. Because of your subconscious is making you sort of manipulate it in a sense. So I thought that was quite an interesting one, because it's something that we can all do and all relate to. So the only thing you have control over is your power of thought, and that's the only thing that you truly can sort of decide, and what you say, that's what you control. So there's some of the books I'm reading. I'm also reading, I've got a load of them reading. I'm also reading the Founder and Creator of Nike's book. But I'll leave a couple of books in the description, or sort of where I upload this, where you can sort of see that. So next one I want to talk about is growth. It's crazy how day by day you don't see this change, whether it's physically, mentally, or sort of in your skill. But when you look back after a while, everything has changed. It's important to not be obsessed with short-term growth. At the end of the day, whatever you're trying to do, you don't want to think about the short term. It's like diet, for example. Diet normally is something you're doing in the short term, whereas lifestyle change is something you're doing for the long term. So if you're going on a keto diet, I know many people have done it, it's very good for losing weight quickly. But what happens after that, you're not going to do it, because I know it drains a lot of people and they don't find it very successful. But it's good for the short term, whereas if you're aiming for a long term change, otherwise you're just going to go back to eating how you was before. So try and be 1% better every day, and in a year you'll be triple the person you are now, 365%, 365 days. Plan in the short term, keep consistent, and you'll see long-term growth. Those who cut corners will never succeed in the long term. It's all about preparation, preparing yourself mentally and physically. For example, the Funded Traders Challenge, you've got to prepare for that in more ways than one. You haven't just got to be knowing what you're doing, you've got to be prepared to find adverse scenarios in the market, things that aren't normal, things that are going to change using a different strategy. Is your strategy not working? Are you confident with it? Do you know when it best works? These different things. So in the short term, you think you're succeeding, but what happens when the conditions change? Listen to those who know what they're talking about and have been through the process themselves. So someone, for example, you wouldn't listen to someone who has been trading for 2 weeks over someone who's been trading a year, for example. Some scenarios, people say they've been trading 3 years, but if they truly are a professional trader, they probably will be trading. They would have a lot more knowledge in that sense. So then, business. So a few things about business. Of course, I'm only 19, but these are the things that I like, and I learn more and more about business. So a thing that I said the other day was, a visionary may see the long term, but a leader has to make the decisions in the short term. So what I mean by that is, it's very easy to be a visionary. It's very easy to have these affirmations and believe you're going to get to these places. However, there is a big difference between the short term and the long term. It's the path in between. So a leader has to lead that. They have to lead their team, themselves, their mentality, and they have to lead that way. They have to find the path, the correct path, and the most efficient path. Not always the quickest path, but the most efficient path. What's going to get there the right way? If you could get somewhere really quickly, you might not remember everything you learned. So I think that's a really good one to have. So a visionary may see the long term, but a leader has to make decisions in the short term. And sometimes in business it can be very hard, especially when you're in a senior position. It can be hard because you want something for people, but they don't truly believe in what you're saying, or they don't see the vision. So that's why your job as a leader is to show them that and explain that to them and break it down, and change their perspective. So when you lose, stop blaming others, hold yourself accountable and take full responsibility. And when you win, even if you're mostly responsible, be humble enough to share the credit. Nothing great can be achieved alone. That's the cost to be the boss. It made me laugh the other day because I heard on the Michael Jordan and the Bulls documentary, someone said to him, there's no I in team. He said there is in win. And it just made me laugh because he obviously has changed a lot now, and through Phil Jackson coming in, who's obviously a legendary coach. He obviously explained how he worked in triangles, kind of like anyone who's in football. Work in triangles, and you always have, I can't remember the amount of scenarios, but a certain amount of scenarios that you can have. And it's basically, rather than just giving it to Jordan and him going to score, you use the team around you. And he, at first, was a bit like, don't really want to do this, but Phil Jackson has become his favourite coach, is someone that when he left the Bulls, said he was going to leave as well. And that's the case of, he shifted his mindset, and even the leader on the team, the best NBA player probably ever, has shifted their mindset. And that's how, when you've got the right person to guide you, you will shift what you're doing. The next thing I want to say was, short-term riches often requires luck, but long-term wealth always requires wisdom. So short-term, you might get lucky, you might get a nice trade, you might get a nice stock that you've bought, or you might have seen a tip from someone and got it. But in the long term, you're not going to know how to do that again and be self-sufficient. You're just going for tips. What happens if the person giving you them tips or signals goes away? You're not going to have nothing. You're not going to be able to trade. You've lost, if you've left your job to do this, you've lost that. You've lost everything. So become wealthy. Become someone in the long run. You have liquidity, you have wealth. And in the short run, just make sure you're learning that skill and developing, and always put away things that can help you in the future. So losses are expenses. They're all a part of business. They're all a part of learning. So common in trading. We say that obviously if you take a loss, it's an expense because you learn from it. You do your ASR, your advanced self-review, and you learn from it. Don't make the same mistake again. Like that is what you learn from these expenses, right? It's like anything in life. When I said about regrets, don't have regrets, have lessons. Learn from that. Don't make the same mistake. And that's why it's not a mistake. If you do it again, then it becomes a mistake. Something I saw the other day, so a lot of these stuff that I've seen is stuff that I've interpreted from other people, because naturally, like we said, productive environment, reading, you learn this stuff. And I saw, I would love to pick your brain, asking someone for a 10-minute coffee to extract their knowledge, which took them 10 years to learn, it comes at a price. And no, not a free coffee, you owe them the value equivalent of 10 years. And it made me laugh because at the end of the day, it's true. People come to me like, oh, teach me how to trade, give me your signals. I've always said I don't agree with signals. I started with signals and I lost. I wasn't self-sufficient. Whereas now, I've become a funded trader. I've gone through that challenge and that experience over 14 months to get there. And then I can make more money from being a trader on a funded account than I can sending you signals. So why would I do it? Why would I waste my time in that sense? However, if you challenge me to teach you and help you become funded, like the guys in the community do, because if that's kind of my role, then I'm going to help you because it's a challenge and I love a challenge. Whereas signals are not a challenge, so I'm just doing what I already do, right? So I think it's really important there that if you want knowledge from someone, offer them something for value, offer them return, offer to help them out. Like if you have a boss, learn a lot from your boss, because at the end of the day, if you have a boss who you truly believe in and you aspire to be like, and he's someone who you look up to, then try and pick things from him. Try and ask him for more help and to learn from him. And obviously in return, you're giving him the labour, you're giving him the work, and you're going to help him get there. And at the end of the day, if he teaches you everything he knows, you might end up becoming the guy who owns that business, or also not owns maybe, but runs that business, or he might give you share options and things like that. And that's why obviously a lot of the guys who are successful, they always have one mentor that they look at. And obviously that's what I'm trying to be for other people. I'm trying to be a good mentor.
So throughout this kind of journey that I've been on, trading really is a journey. You learn a number of things about yourself and, psychology that you can apply for the real world. And I just found that hopefully you can benefit from some of the experiences I've had, because a huge part of trading is experience, and there's no easy way around it. The more you see the markets, the more you become physically or mentally detached from your money, the better trader you become. And the more unemotional you are with trading, that's how you become a better trader. So what I found, like early on in my stage, first 2-3 months, I was quite emotional with my trades. I would be looking for the perfect trade, or I would be, taking my money too early because I'd be scared that I'd get stopped out. And what I found was I was losing money at the start because I was over trading as well. Whenever I lost a trade, I would want to jump straight back into the markets to make money back. Whenever I won a trade, I'd want to do the same I'm on a winning streak, I must keep trading. After a while, I kind of realized, that won't work. That isn't sustainable in the markets. So you need to kind of emotionally detach yourself when trading. So about 3 months in, I'd say, I started my trading plan, which is a strict set of guidelines that I must adhere to place a trade. Now with that, it means I've removed the emotional aspect of it, of trading, because I'm just trading off instinct. I'm trading off a strict set of rules. And it is also very important for taking profit as well. Oftentimes, I've had times where, I've taken 2% profit, it's gone on to hit 20%, and then I'm kicking myself. I've also had times where, I was at, say, 7-8% profit, and then it came all the way back down and hit my stop loss at break even. So kind of having that in my trading plan removes the emotion and helps my psychology a lot. But kind of over time, going into the latter months, and especially last 3 months, where I've kind of started my own podcasts and the likes of, kind of to help my own psychology as well, I found there's a number of tools I really needed to be a successful trader. I mentioned at the start about experience and how vital that is. But with experience, it's using experience in the right way. And when I say that, it's being able to look at your experience and learn from your mistakes. There's nothing wrong at all with making mistakes in the market, nothing at all. And I think it is really important that you do take your losses, because that's the way you can learn from them. However, what I do believe is that whenever you make these losses, you need to go into reflection and realize, okay, why did I take that trade? Was I angry that day? Was I emotional that day? Like, what was the reason? And over time, you'll start to see certain patterns that you can kind of take out of your trading game, I guess. So another huge thing about trading, I think, is confidence, because you can go on a kind of a losing streak, or whatever, and you might not be making a lot of money, and there's stuff going on around you that you've kind of lost your confidence, whether it be college work, uni work, school, just work in general. If you're having a bad day. So I found, kind of, if your confidence gets knocked, that's a huge thing, kind of in trading. So I kind of did a bit of research on how to be more confident as a person. So a lot of it was kind of to do with positive self-talk, a technique the Navy SEALs use. So they will literally talk in their head saying, oh, I can get through this, life could be worse. Just continually talking, I will make this, I will make this. So I constantly tell myself, I'm going to be a funded trader. I'm going to make trading my full-time job. And over time, what you'll see that will happen is you'll start to actually believe it. Like, I fully believe that now, as funny as it sounds. I fully believe that I will be a funded trader at some point this year. And I think when you have that confidence, it also gives you a certain drive as well, because you want to live up to those expectations. So I really, really do feel that's important. You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You are able to say to yourself, I've lived through this horror, I can take the next thing that comes along. So that kind of applies to all of life, having these bad experiences, bad trades, and bad day at work or whatever. But you've got through this before, you can get through it again. And using that, then you can build up kind of your experience and your confidence over time. When you have more confidence, you can make quicker decisions, and you can really visualize your goals and kind of have a long-term goal in mind. Another thing I know Matt will probably talk about in the video is having a structure to your day. I actually I learned from him kind of why having a structure is really, really important. But I've really only started to incorporate that into my life over the last month and a half. So I get up early, do meditation or whatever. But again, I've been doing a bit of research and kind of how can I improve this. And as funny as it sounds, one of the key things in life, the most successful people make their beds. And as as funny as that sounds or whatever, it's very, very true. And I read why. So there's really a reason why kind of the army force soldiers to make their bed every morning. And it's to make sure that you've done at least one task for the day and done it well. So whenever I make my bed now, I do it to the best of my ability, no crinkles in the sheets and nothing. And it just gives me that first thought of the day, well, I've done that, I've completed that task, and it allows me to move on to every other task in the day. And no matter what, if I have a terrible day and I do nothing, at least I made my bed that morning. So it does a huge thing for you psychologically. Like, I always made my bed growing up, but now I make it absolutely pristine, take real pride in it. And I know you're probably laughing, it sounds a bit stupid, but the Navy SEALs have done it, the Army have done it, and they say something like 95%, or like the majority anyway, of billionaires make their bed when they're younger. Obviously they have maids now to do it, but it's all about instilling that I've done at least one task for the day and I've done it well. And the more you can do tasks well, the better you can get at trading, at life, at whatever. So kind of, if you're beginning now, if you're in any way on your journey, the things I'd say to you is have kind of have goals. Okay, don't be afraid to make them too big, because you will get there in the end. Have confidence that you're able to achieve those goals, and emotionally detach yourself from your trading by making a trading plan or anything like that. Another huge thing I found, just to finish up on, is surrounding yourselves with the right people. I'm very lucky. I've had people like Connor, who's been with me since the start of my journey, and we'd have, you know, a lot of calls and talks together. And not all of them are about trading. A lot of them are just talking to each other about our goals, our aspirations in life, and you know, really just thinking through what's going on in the world today and how we can improve. You know, and they say that you're an average of the five people around you. So if you can surround yourself with similar people who want to do well, who want to thrive, yous are just going to push each other and you know, force each other to do well. It also encourages a bit of healthy competition. So I really think that's key for your mental health. If you're surrounding yourself with positive, like-minded, aspirational people, it makes a huge difference. So that's just a bit about me. If you have any questions, you know, feel free to message me on Slack or whatever. But I hope that was anyway useful. Cheers.
So, are we too influenced by others? So this scenario is just something for in terms of that thought process. So something I've become is vegan. So that's changing diet. That's just for my own personal reasons. And I learned about it, I researched about it, and at the time obviously I was looking a lot into sort of physical and mental health, concentration, things like this. And I've just found that I wanted to try it out. I wanted to test it. I've always been someone who loves meat, breakfast, lunch, dinner. But I just wanted to try it, and I have felt a lot better from it. So I'm not going to go on too much about that. All I'd say is there's documentaries on Netflix, What's the Health, Forks Over Knives, Cowspiracy Theory, Game Changers, and The Magic Pill. Go watch them if you want to find out more about being vegan. If you watch them and you have questions, come to me, but I'm not going to talk too much about that because I'm not one of the vegans who goes to become vegan. It's up to you. But the thought of this was when we become ill, our first thought is doctors, hospital, medicine, etc. But we look at, say, paracetamol as a temporary fix, time and time again. But going back to that point about self-sufficient, what about if you could stop it, limit it, or change your future in that sense of health? Why don't we look for a permanent fix which is deeper? Our diet, our routine, exercise. You wouldn't put diesel into a petrol car, right? So why is it any different with your body? And with a car, mechanics know every single little part of a car. My dad's always worked with cars, and when you know every single little piece of a car, you understand how they all work together. But with our body, we don't look at how each individual part, organ, muscle works together. So we don't understand it. So we're just fueling all this toxin into our body and negative energy in a sense because of animals in that sense. I'm not going to go into it, but in that sense, you got all this stuff coming through. And we don't make our own opinions of it. It's what society brings us up. I was brought up eating meat. That's why I've done it until I was old enough to sort of look at it myself. But imagine if everyone thought like this and they'd be more healthy, right? Because they would think, even if you don't eat sort of vegan, you might eat a cleaner diet, just purely like meat, sort of get all that balance of the micronutrients and stuff like that. You might juice, you might smoothies, things like that. But what would happen if there was less demand for medicines, hospitals, etc.? For the food that ideally we shouldn't eat, fast food. Of course, consumption ensures that this doesn't happen. Rarely, medical advice is purely diet or exercise. More often, more medicine, more tablets, more poison. Advertisements. You hardly ever see healthy lives advertised. You hardly ever see advertisements promoting good health. Maybe drugs, as in pharmaceutical drugs, maybe supplements, but not the things that you truly need in that sense. These micronutrients that you get from when you juice things rather than you blend them or you cook them. So rarely medical advice is purely diet or exercise, as I said. So instead of fast food restaurants and medicine, why don't we see, say, changes in our diet? More people talking about this is why. Unfortunately, it comes down to corruption. For example, some of the biggest industries that offer sponsorship to Diabetes Association, Cancer Association, things like that, they are meat suppliers. And for me, you know that certain food you shouldn't be eating. So for example, even not meat, but fast food, you shouldn't really be eating. We know that, we should eat in moderation. And they're the ones who sponsor it. So Yum, which is Pizza Hut and KFC, they sponsor some of the cancer associations or diabetes associations in America. And it's money at the end of the day. If you lose the money, you're not going to have that. It's like what we're seeing at the moment. If furlough decreases, it kind of pushes people back into work. And it's not that the government want to, but unfortunately they can't in that sense. There's only so much you can do at the end of the day. You can't just keep printing bills, otherwise the currency goes downhill, right?
You right, guys, I hope this finds you in good health. Connor's asked me to do this part of the webinar that we did last Monday in regards to psychology. And in that we talked about individually, me, Aaron and Connor, our own journeys. The thing that I focused on mainly was in regards to routine, as that is something that has massively affected my psychology within the past few months, especially with trading, and it's not only benefited my trading but everyday life as well. And the reason why that is because as humans we are creatures of habit. So the more good habits we build into our daily routine, and we do time and time again, then the bigger benefit that that's going to have on our overall lives, if those habits that you are doing, like I say, are positive. So the benefits of having a routine are that you have certain points in your day that you can dedicate constantly to your desired goals, whatever it may be, trading, having your own business, etc., etc. And then you can designate certain times in the day to have work blocks. So work blocks are something where you put away all your distractions. So whether that be phone, people around you, certain type of music that's distracting, or something of that nature. And for that specific time period, so whether it be half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, it depends on how well you can work in a concentrated and present manner for. It differs from person to person. My work blocks tend to be about an hour long and then situated at certain points throughout the day from when I work best. And it is a trial and error thing. You'll find this with all your routine, whether it be evening or morning routine, or morning routine and evening, I should say, rather. And it is a period of trial and error, and you'll make constant adjustments throughout your life. As I say, I've been having a routine now for probably had a rough routine for about a year, but really knuckling down and making sure I'm sticking to it probably a few months. And it's no shock that in that time I've had performance, not just in trading, but in other areas of my life improve as well. So yeah, work blocks are a massive part of that. And within that, I have within my daily routine, I have my morning routine and something that I've situated into my day within the past few weeks is an evening routine. So one of the biggest parts about having a morning routine is waking up at the same time every day. So your body knows what time to get up, and your body clock is prepared for the day. So if you're constantly getting up at different times every day, say 8, 11, 12, whatever it may be, especially in this time if you're off work, etc., etc., that your body isn't prepared to get up at a certain time every day, and it can also massively hinder how you plan what you do in a day. If you're waking up at certain times every day, then your routine isn't going to be the same. You might do things in a similar order, but that from the get-go shows a lack of discipline and not getting up at the same time, that you're not going to stick to the rest of the routine. And I'm not saying you have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. There's something about modern day society where getting up is a competition. I mean, to a certain extent, it can be healthy if that's going to push you to get up, but it won't, depending on how competitive you are, it won't put you in good stead in terms of you'll end up not waking up at that early time after a few weeks or so. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to implement a routine for, again, we've got that long-term thinking. We don't just want to get up early or get up at the same time for 4 or 5 weeks. We want to do it over a consistent period, whether it be 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. But obviously over that period of time, you'll make those little adjustments to your routine as your life changes. So I'm just going to use mine for example. Do bear in mind, I am a university student, so anybody that does a 9 to 5, this will differ. But at the end of the day, you've got contacts and you've got your network of people who are in similar situations. Even within the Slack community, you've got people who do 9 to 5s. Use the community, it's there for a reason. So in terms of that, message someone who does a 9 to 5. So I know someone in the community, Christian, and message each other about your routine and take parts off of the individuals, and then, like I say, we try and error, find what best suits you. So I wake up at 6 a.m. most days, all weekdays. On Saturdays and Sundays tends to be a bit different, 7, half 7. Otherwise the girlfriend doesn't appreciate that. And then for the first 15 to 30 minutes after I wake up, it'll be looking at the charts. So whether that'll be monitoring positions that I'm in, or just having a brief look where the markets are at for the day, making sure all my alerts are set and not doing what I did last week and accidentally take a pair off my watch list that ended up in a 4% trade. Unfortunately, that did happen. But you've got to take the good with the bad. Maybe if my morning routine was a bit more switched on, that wouldn't have happened, but hey ho. And then after that, I go and get my breakfast. So that'll be about 6:45. Come back up about 7:15, and then in the time from 7:15 until 8 o'clock, that is my time to just get ready for the day, prepared. So whether it be reading a book or meditating, they tend to be two things that I do. And that's it really. And then 8 o'clock, my first work block starts. And that 8 till 9 slot is my most alert time of the day. So I always set the hardest and most important tasks for the day within that time. And then I'm trying to keep it as normal as I can in quarantine. So usually like 9, half 9, I go to the gym. So I'll go outside and do a form of gym session in the garden or something like that, or whether it be a walk, etc, etc. Then come in 10:30, 10:15, and then do another work block till 12. And then I'm not going to go through the rest of my day, but you get the point. And that is literally how that is how all my weekdays settle. And it is very important. And once you crack the whip it and you do the first few weeks, it becomes so much easier. It becomes like second nature. But one quick thing that I wanted to mention in regards to your morning routine, it's probably prominent in this time that we're in quarantine right now, where they posted about it the other day, where we're kind of like sanctioned off from our usual external stimuli that gives us so much pleasure, whether it be going to the gym for me personally, seeing friends, something that kind of nature. What we can do is implement things into our daily routine that actually give us the enjoyment and benefit that we do them anyway, but we're not actually present in the moment. And it can be something as simple as having a cup of coffee. Let's just face it, you drink coffee because you enjoy it. Take the time in the morning to sit there and actually appreciate for what it is, because then if you have those little moments throughout the day, I found anyway, it has helped my mindset a lot throughout this process. So for me, it's having that morning coffee when I sit down at my desk. It's reading. I look forward to those things and I pin them to my habits within the day, so I'll make sure I get them done. And that's something that's, because I use the gym as a big stress reliever. So during this time, I would say it's been tough, but it hasn't actually been as tough as I thought because of these little things that I've implemented. And I'm sure Rudge is the same, as I know he likes to go to the gym as well. And they're just the basics of the routine and the benefits that it can have. By the same token, even though it's important to stick to it as much as you can, if you do have an off day, so your alarm goes off when you wake up late, or you've got someone, which I had the other week, disrupt my morning routine in regards to you had to go and do something that you wouldn't usually do in unforeseen circumstances. It is hard once you're in a routine to not let that unsettle your day, and you can get annoyed at that, but it's key to understand it for what it is. It doesn't happen every day, and then try and get on with the rest of your day, because if you have a solid morning, you're more likely, and it's scientifically proven, to have a positive rest of your day. But if you have a poor morning, where you're lacking routine, you've woken up late, you don't feel good because of a poor night's sleep, the chances of having a negative day as a result of a poor morning are obviously a lot higher. And when you come to your reflection at the end of the day, I don't know if you guys do this or it's something that you look into implement, then I take like 5 minutes at the end of the day just to think like what's gone well, and give myself that positive mindset going into sleep and set myself up for the next day. So even if I've had a poor afternoon on the back of a good morning, then I know at least I've already had a good half of the day, rather than a poor morning and a poor afternoon. And that way it's just getting those little wins. And as you guys know, even through trading, your learning process, those little wins, they add up. It's the constant 1% as we're talking about. The constant 1% add up to a massive change in your life. What too many people try and do, I'm extremely guilty of this at times because I tend to be quite impatient, but obviously trading's taught me to be more patient in life as well. That too many of us try and make radical changes all at once, And the problem that lies with that is it becomes too much. We can't form those habits because there's too much to do. There's too much for the brain to process and actually understand what we're doing. So it's key just to, say, for example, when you start your morning routine, don't set anything else in your morning routine other than getting up at the same time and getting your breakfast or whatever it may be. Because at the end of the day, if you're getting up at the same time every day, you've knocked down that first block, that first domino of your morning routine, and then just slowly implement, and it's trial and error. So I hope you guys found that useful. If you do have any questions rather, then just pop us a message over on Slack, and I'll be more than happy to answer when I can. I hope you found this useful, hope you found value in it. Feel free to share it to anybody that would find value in it too. And please don't forget about what I said about using the community. It's there for a reason. We're not just here for trading, we're here to develop as individuals. And it's because I've said to myself personally is that obviously I say to myself every day that I'm going to become a funded trader, because I do believe that I will. But I'm also made myself aware to the fact that even if it didn't occur for some strange reasons, whatever, then trading has put me on the path of self-development. And that is something that, again, you can always be grateful for. It's about looking at the bigger picture. And we've got chats in Slack. It's not just all that trading. We've got a psychology chat for a reason. If you're having problems, whether it be within trading or not, feel free to put it in there, because I guarantee you there'll be someone else with the community. Even though we only have a small, tight-knit community, a few hundred people, there'll be someone else wanting to answer that question. Nothing's too small, nothing's too stupid. So I hope you guys are staying well and staying safe, and let's smash the rest of 2020. Keep that positive mindset and definitely get that routine going. Cheers, guys.
That's sort of everything I've got to say on sort of psychology, personal development, routine. If you have any questions, by all means get in touch with me. And I say, obviously, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you've enjoyed everything that me and the guys have gone through. And hopefully it offers you a lot to think about in life. And please sit here and watch through the whole video. If you haven't already, if you just click to the end, please watch the whole thing, because there's a lot of value there. And it's things that I've learned and helped me become a funded trader. So have a great day, and hopefully we'll be speaking more about this in the future. So see you guys in the next video, and I'll see you guys later.